Hi, everyone. It's Coaches Katie,
And Ashley,
and we are the C and Strive TLC.
supporting the coaches who support our teachers.
Today's topic is coaching duties.
Yes, how do coaches figure out exactly what they are supposed to be doing? And we are so fortunate to have a special guest with us today, Heather. Heather, do you mind introducing yourself?
Sure. I'm Heather Reed, and I am an instructional coach in Grand Junction, Colorado, District 51. And I've been coaching for about 4 years now.
Wonderful.
Awesome. Welcome.
Thank you.
And Heather, I know the first day that I jumped into my coaching position anyway, I was a little confused because I knew exactly what I was supposed to do from 8 in the morning till 3:40 at night when I jumped into my teaching job. Like every minute was planned out. And then I turned into the coaching position and I was like, what am I supposed to do all day long? It's not quite as laid out as nicely as the teaching job. So how did you get started with figuring out, okay, what are my coaching duties in my position?
That's a really good question. And you're right. As a teacher, our morning or our whole day doesn't stop, right? We knew exactly what we were going to do. We had a lesson plan written. We knew that our job was to be with kids and to grow them and love them. And as coaches, no clue. Like I walked in that first day as well and was like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what my job responsibilities really are. I was really nervous about it. But two things. One, I was really fortunate to be part of a district who had laid out what our job responsibilities should look like as far as allocating our time 50% to this and 25% to this and 25% to this. And so that was helpful, just knowing like the roles that I could play. But that didn't help me get started right away on day one of my coaching job. And my principal had wonderful advice for me. And she's like, Heather, I'm not going to tell you what to do. She's like, you'll figure it out, which was really uncomfortable because I was like, but I have an office. But I don't know these teachers. I don't know the staff. And so her suggestion was build relationships. And so as soon as I was able to do that and just get in and visit with people and just say, hi, I'm Heather. I'm the instructional coach. I'm just here to learn alongside you. Is there anything that I can do to help you today? Do you want me to make copies? Do you want me to read a story to your kids while you take a break? Whatever it was, the first thing I had to do was build relationships. And so after that, and I felt a little bit more comfortable and people knew who I was, then I really turned to my admin for guidance and just wondering like, what is it that you want my role to look like in your building? And so we set some goals together. And that was really the first thing that I needed to do was to build those relationships, not only with staff, but then with our admin as well, and start to set up a time where we could meet regularly and set some goals. That really put me on the path to success as far as just knowing what is it that I could be doing every day.
I think we've talked, in every one of our podcasts so far on building relationships. It just always goes back to you have to have those relationships to build that trust. Are you just in one school? Are you in more than one school? Elementary? Give us a little bit of that.
Yeah, so the first year I was coaching, I was split between two buildings, two elementary schools. And then later I was just transferred into one building. In our district, it depends on whether the school receives title funds or not as to how many days a week they are able to fund a coach in that building. And so the first year I was in a title building for a few days and then in a non-title school 1 day a week. And then later decided that the title school that I was in had some funding available to pay for an additional day for me to be there. And so I just decided to be in one building 4 days a week.
Which that's so nice for being able to build relationships when you're just constantly there and very present at the school. That's a good opportunity.
Yes. It's more difficult to build relationships when you're only in a building 1 day a week, but it still can be done. It just takes a little bit more time when you think about, I had 4 days in a building, whichever one it was in, right? So 3 days at my title school and 1 day at my non-title school. I was there 3 times as much in one building as I was another. And I really had to work hard at just being more present. and visible in the building that I was at 1 day a week. I had to be even more clear about the goals that we had set and what part I could play in that as a coach and what I had influence over and what I had to let go of. In a building where I'm there 3 days a week, it's a little bit easier to have conversations that aren't just so data driven and that you can get to really know people personally. Even though the goals are still a big part of that, really putting those people first has to happen. So yes, building relationships is 100% the first place to start as a coach.
Yeah, yeah. And like Katie said, it's nice that that's come up in every single podcast that we've had so far with all of the coaches. So once you've got that foundation built with the relationships, you talked a little bit about your meeting with your principal. Can we dig into that a little bit? Because principal's time is so valuable as well. And how do you, have a consistent meeting with the principal? Is there an agenda? What does that look like?
Yeah, I really think that weekly meeting is essential with your administrator. We've kind of morphed what our weekly meetings look like. We knew right away. I was fortunate enough to be in a building where my principal was a former coach. And so she truly understands how important it is to have that open communication, and what a coach can do, adding to helping to make decisions and understanding what the teachers are doing, and how much they have on their plates. And so bringing that perspective, she just really appreciates that, that I have that connection with them as well. So fortunate that she was a coach and understood that. And so immediately we just decided that we needed to set aside some time every week to meet together. And it morphed because we used to meet in her office down in the main office, and it just was chaotic. It seemed like every time we were meeting, there were interruptions, because she just was surrounded by all the kids and all the parents and who needed her as much as I needed her. And then we decided to move it to my office, to a space that was away from all of that distraction, because we realized how valuable those meetings could be. We always walked out with a to-do list of things that we knew was going to work us towards achieving our goals, or to helping us create a professional development, or, helping us support teachers. And so we decided to move it to a space where we could be uninterrupted. And then our agendas morphed as well. When we first started out together, it was more like, hey, let's talk about these coaching cycles. Are you getting any business? How many teachers are you working with? What might be some of the goals that our teachers are working on? And now it's that plus. I mean, we just are really working together to create a partnership to support teachers who can support students. And so everything that we have on our agenda is either professional development related or next steps for helping our teachers in furthering their skills. And so having that agenda every week is super helpful. We both have access to it and can add throughout the week, just depending on where we're at in a data cycle, or where we're at in a coaching cycle with teachers, where we're at in professional development, and in the roadmap in the year. And so we're just always able to add or delete, like, okay, no, we feel like we've already taken care of that, so we can take that off the agenda, or we have access to it and just can add things as they come up throughout the week.
That's awesome. Heather, a couple of things that really, really stood out to me was your partnership. You have to have a partnership with your admin team, and it sounds like you are really fortunate with who you work with. And the other piece is that communication. You keep that running document. It sounds like your principal prioritized you and your meeting time and found a place that worked so that you could really focus on your coaching. That's awesome.
Yes, been super fortunate for that. And we realized that, like you said, Katie, it's a partnership, right? Like, we both have skills that we can bring to the table that are going to help our teachers become the best teachers that they can be, so that we can raise student achievement. And so without that partnership, and without me being able to support her vision of where she wants to go, we just couldn't do it without each other.
Kind of building on that, Heather, one thing I hear coaches talking about with when you have that principal role and the coaching role at a school is there's this gray in the middle where there's a little bit of crossover sometimes. So do you and your principal have a way of clearly communicating those roles? Is there ever an issue with that grade crossover? Or is that kind of a non-issue at your school?
I think really the crossover is harder because coaches are often in the middle of teachers and administrators. And I think that's where the gray area comes from for us, is just having, not really taking sides, right? But like, who am I supporting right now? Am I the voice for teachers? And I have to say that to my principal, like, hey, they can't take on one more thing. Or am I the voice of my principal going back to my teachers and saying, I know what you're going through right now, but we have initiatives, we have goals that we need to meet, and so we need to push through this. So that for me is the harder area, of just knowing, where does the messaging come from, right? Does it come from teachers? Does it come from the coach? Does it come from administrators when it comes to getting things done and pushing those initiatives?
Oh, that's a really good point. And you're always advocating in whatever conversation you're in, like really asking questions to lean into, like, where is the problem, trying to pinpoint it, and then bringing that information back to whoever needs to hear it.
Exactly. Often I think coaches are bridges. They're bridges between teachers and administrators. In my case, I'm a bridge between our district and our school. I'm the bridge between PL and putting practices into place in the classroom. And so really a middle person. You have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable as a coach, because you may not have all the answers. You may not know which side you're supposed to be on, but just truly understanding that, like, you're advocating for what's best for kids. And as long as you know that that's what you're working in service of, it feels okay to push through some of those tricky conversations, or those tricky situations that you might be put in as a coach, is knowing in your heart, is what I'm doing best for kids.
Yeah, that's like the quote of this podcast, I think. Get comfortable with being uncomfortable. That's great.
Yeah, and I think I love how you said it's the bridge, and it's walking beside the teachers, but it's also walking beside the administrators. It is a very difficult situation to be in sometimes, but being vulnerable and being honest, I think, are the key things that work, because then the teachers know you're being honest with them. They know you, I don't want to say like have their back, but they know that they can trust you. But then admin also knows that you are going to advocate and you're going to work towards the goals that the school has set. So
You're
yeah,
right.
excellent.
That's why building those relationships is so important, right? They have to know that you have those qualities as a human being, that you're trustworthy, that you follow through, that you do what you'll say you'll do, and that you're kind and patient, so that they are willing to be able to talk to you and use you in that way.
Mhm.
That made me think of, so when you started at your school, and it sounds like you didn't teach at that school, you were a coach at a new school. Did you have a coaching menu or some kind of document that you gave out to the teachers so they knew what you could do to support them?
You're right. When I started here, I did not teach in this building prior. And so coming into coaching was a new role, and I was learning a new staff, and just the culture and climate of a new building. And it's different, I think, for every coach at every building. Your role morphs depending on what the culture and climate is in a building, what they've been exposed to as far as how coaching is perceived. Some really perceive coaching as a deficit model, and that only people who are brand new or who are struggling in their classroom need a coach. I don't believe that at all. I believe everyone deserves to be coached, whether you are brand new, whether you're struggling, whether you are a rock star veteran teacher. Coaching can only help you become stronger. It's just, again, a partnership between a coach and a teacher, to really say, hey, this is something that I could use some feedback on, or something that I might be able to grow stronger in if we planned together or taught together. And so, yes, I did create a menu of coaching possibilities, and really just laid it out for my teachers about like what I believe coaching is and what it is not. I laid out for them what a coaching cycle looks like and the steps that we go through to call it a cycle. And then a menu as far as, here are the things that you might ask me for, or things that we might engage in together. And so some of those things on the menu that I have are resource provider. Often teachers don't have enough time to go and find the things in our building that they might need, or an article that they've been looking for online. I'm also a data coach, and I help teachers to really understand how to pull classroom data, how to analyze it and what to do with it. I helped teachers cover their classes. So if they want to go and observe another teacher in another building, or they want to go and see their teammates, there's no better learning than learning from your colleagues in your own building. And so oftentimes we want to do that, but don't have coverage for our classrooms. And so it's twofold for me. I get to keep my skills strong as an educator and be in their classrooms while they get to go and observe and learn. And then it gives me an opportunity to reflect with that teacher after that. Another way that I can support teachers, or things that I have on the coaching menu, is a classroom supporter. And so I can come in and I can model lessons for teachers. We can co-teach together. We can plan, or just have me like whisper in their ear as they're going, like, hey, you might try this. And so that's been really effective. Or I can come in and just collect data for them. Sometimes teachers aren't sure, like, am I giving enough opportunities to respond in my class? And so I can come in and start to tally, how many times did you give children the opportunities to respond or to be engaged in the lesson, or to collect behavior data. And so all of those things really lead then into a coaching cycle. When they can choose from a menu of things, it helps us then to set a goal and collect data and be able to reflect on whatever it is that they want to put into place.
When you think about all of those things that you just named, and ways that you're supporting educators, it's just amazing how much teachers do every day. And to think, like, a lot of them are doing that on their own independently. And when it's clear to them what a coach does, and that, we're not there for a gotcha. We're really there because when you're teaching and you're paying attention to the content that you're teaching, and then you're trying to pay attention to your instructional delivery, and then you're trying to pay attention to your classroom management, there's too many things. You cannot also be paying attention to how many opportunities to respond that you have every single minute or whatever. So to have just another set of eyes, or to have, gosh, I would have loved to have you as my coach, Heather, you in the classroom co-teaching with me. That just, it feels like taking something off a teacher's shoulders. It feels very supportive.
Right. I think that when you said it takes something off of a teacher, right, because they are managing so much, it does give an extra set of eyes in the classroom, and provide some data, right, that teachers may not be able to collect as they're doing all the other things. But it's not, coaching shouldn't be one more thing. Right? It's not something that I should have to do. It's something I should want to do. I should want to do this so that I can get the feedback or the data that I need to progress as a teacher. And so oftentimes that's how I explain it to teachers. It's like, no, you're already doing the work. I just can help you I can ask you some questions to help you reflect on that, to help you decide, did that work? Was it successful? Is this something I want to continue to do?
Well, thanks for listening, everyone. Thanks for being with us, Heather.
Yes, thank you.
We learned so much about coaching duties, and we're going to link you said that you have a menu that you share with teachers that you talked about today. We'll link that to this episode as well. So thank you for sharing that with us.
You're welcome.
And remember, we are the See and Strive TLC, here to support teachers, leaders, and especially all you coaches.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.